Hey folks, welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. I'm Corey Seidman and he's Jim Salisbury, and the Phils are back home this week after a trip to the West Coast in which they went 2-4, getting swept in Arizona and then rebounding a bit to win 2 of 3 in San Diego. And Jim, first up here back home, the Phillies have the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 30 games over 500. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. It's a brief little 2-game series here. But yeah, the Phils have 2 with the Rays this week, and then 4 with those same Arizona Diamondbacks at home, and they're going to want revenge in that series.
They should want revenge. That series might have ruined their season out in Arizona. You mentioned 2-4 road trip. I thought it was a terrible road trip, just terrible. You get swept in Arizona by the worst team in the National League. You just don't hit at all, and then you go to San Diego, and the only thing standing in your way of a sweep is just a horrible late inning collapse when Aaron Nola pitches a gem. You can't catch the ball at first base. You can't catch the ball behind the plate. He makes a mistake late in the game after pitching a gem because he's got no margin for error. Pitchers will make mistakes, but to me, on a night when he pitched as well as he did, you need to bring that baby home, and they didn't do it. And that game's changed on defense. And defense has hurt this team all year long and continues to break their heart in big situations. So, yeah, they're back home. What are they, 4.5 back, Corey?
4.5 back behind the Braves and 5 out in the wild card race.
So they are technically in 2 races. It's going to be very, very difficult here as the days dwindle down. 5 weeks left. They need to go on a really big roll again. Like they did with that 8-game winning streak. I just don't know if they have it in them. I don't have a lot of confidence they have another one in them. And they have to even sustain it beyond that 8 games. It needs to be like, they need to go 13-20 or something, or 14-19, and just have a really good stretch. And I don't know that they have it in them. And on the flip side, I don't know that Atlanta has a collapse in it. I don't know that the Braves have a collapse in them. That is a team that knows how to win. That is the team. Front office has done a great job. They lost 2 big producers in the outfield, in Acuna and Ozuna. And the front office went out there and remade their outfield on the fly. They're getting unbelievable offense and defense from their infield. The pitching staff's getting healthy. Even if the Phillies play well and start putting something together here, I don't know that they can catch the Braves because I don't know that the Braves are going to allow themselves to be caught. They know how to win. They've won 3 straight divisions. They have incredible leadership in the dugout with their manager. They have incredible leadership with Freddie Freeman and others. Swanson's having a very good year. So they got Darno back. So I think the Phillies really face an uphill climb here. We hear a lot about their easy schedule. That means, to me, very little. You still got to go out and play well. And they're a team that often does not play well. On top of it all, they have the Tampa Bay Rays in here for 2 games starting here on Tuesday night. The Rays, I think, have about 150-run plus 150-run differential. They have the best record in the American League, primed for the postseason. And then, like you said, you got the Arizona Diamondbacks coming in, and the Phillies can talk about revenge all they want, but you still got to do it. You got to do it on the field. And they haven't done it on the field consistently all season. So that's why they're such a frustrating team.
Well, if they're going to make up ground on the Braves, they have to make up some ground this week. The Braves, this is their toughest week remaining this season. Atlanta has 1 more with the Yankees. The Yankees actually have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break. The Tampa Bay Rays are 2nd. The Braves are 3rd since the All-Star break in terms of best records in the majors. After the Yankees, the Braves then have the Giants and Dodgers. So 7 straight really tough games remaining for the Braves, as the Phillies then have 2 with the Rays and 4 with the Diamondbacks, who still have the worst record in the National League despite sweeping the Phillies last week in the desert. Jim, you talked about the defense really hurting them in the Aaron Nola game, and it did. Brad Miller made that error at first base, which ended Nola's perfect game bid in the 7th inning. That really, changed the final kind of hour and a half of that game. The Phillies also had only 4 hits in that game. They went 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They had the bases loaded with 1 out in the 8th inning, and the 2 runs they scored came on bases loaded hit by pitches. There was a big at bat in that inning. Andrew McCutchen struck out with the bases loaded. It was one of the 5 strikeouts he had in that game. And then he sat on Sunday as the Phillies try to get him right. But on Sunday, the Phillies did welcome back Rhys Hoskins, and it was a much needed return to the lineup. He homered twice, still leads the Phillies in homers, RBIs, and doubles. And the Phils are going to protect him. He came out late in that game for a defensive replacement, but just having his bat back in the lineup could be a real godsend here in the short term.
Yeah, it was Sunday. Hit a couple bombs. With as long as he was out of the lineup, still leads the team in RBIs and homers, and that's a bit of a commentary on the rest of the team, I would say. But he's a guy that helps the entire lineup, helps the guys around him see some pitches. He's a bat. He's a dangerous bat that opposing pitchers are always aware of. Harper is a dangerous bat that opposing pitchers are always aware of, and that awareness, I think, stretches into how other pitchers approach hitters around them. So it can definitely help the entire lineup. They need Rhys Hoskins. I know he's had 2 hellacious slumps this year, but when he's right, he really is a very, very valuable run producer. And I've said this before. To me, he's shown a lot of mental toughness the last couple of years. If you look at the second half of 19, he was abysmal. And when you're an important player with a name and you have a bad second half, it can really weigh on you because it gets talked about all winter long. It just doesn't go away, right? And I think it can really weigh on a player. But he showed a lot of mental toughness. Made some adjustments that offseason, that spring, adjusted back a little bit, finally found something that worked for him, I'd say halfway through last year's shortened season. And it is still clicking this year. Though, like I said, he had a bad month of June. He had another prolonged slump. But all in all, he's produced for this team. I think we've really learned. I think we always knew his value to the lineup, but we're learning even more about it this year. So I think he's shown, like I said, mental toughness coming back from a tough second half in 2019, coming back from 2 difficult stretches this season, coming back from now an injury. They need him. They need Nola. They need Real Muto. They need Harper. They need McCutchen, as you said. They need them all to click for 5 weeks. They need the starting pitchers and the bullpen. This is going to be a complete team effort. If they're going to make a run here, they need it all to click at once over the last 5 weeks. And even if it does, I don't know that the Braves are cratering enough to be caught. So we'll see what happens with the Braves and the 2 big teams on the West Coast. But even if the Braves play 500 against those teams, to me, that's all they need to do, right?
Well, who's been awesome for the Braves lately? We were talking about Freddie Freeman and Albies and guys like that. Charlie Morton over the last 2 months has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's 12-4 on the season with a 3.47 ERA going into tonight's game, which he starts. And yet another short-term contract that Charlie Morton signs, and yet pitches in an important role for a team that could potentially be playoff bound. Speaking of great teams, Team Toyota is leading the way with their new and pre-owned Toyotas right now. Their process is fast, easy, and it puts you in control the whole way. Just check out the reviews online. With locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, and Princeton, visit teamtoyota.net and be safe, be strong, be a team. Jim, in thinking about the final 5 weeks for the Phillies, I wonder what kind of role Alec Bohm is going to serve. He was optioned to AAA on Sunday to make room for Rhys Hoskins. He hadn't been playing much. I think he had started just 2 of the Phillies' last 11 games before he was sent down, just played himself off the field with defense. And, now I'll have a chance to work on his defense under, lesser scrutiny, but this is certainly not what the Phillies envisioned for Alec Bohm after his Rookie of the Year runner-up season.
No. And that's a perfect segue for one of my little pet peeves. When we talk about Alec Bohm, we always use the word, boy, he had a good rookie season. Boy, he's coming off a good season. He played 44 games. It was a 60-game season. He played 44 games last season. He had about a good 5 or 6 weeks, right? He didn't have, it wasn't to me, a season is, 500 plate appearances, 500 at-bats, whatever you want to call it. A season is you're out there for the better part of 6 months. So he had a good run last year. He had a good streak last year. He certainly wasn't an established player. He certainly didn't have a good season. He had a good season that what we would constitute as a season, 162 games. He showed promise and real promise, and he produced, and he did a great job but it was over 44 games. Yeah, we've seen him struggle this year. I think it's a good move to get him out of there, get him off to AAA, because this is a game you need to play every day to stay sharp. Mostly, both on offensive end and the defensive side of the ball, but on offense, if you're not seeing pitches every day, competitive pitches, you're going to lose your edge, and you're not going to be there when they need you off the bench for a spot start or a pinch hitting appearance. So at the very least, you get him out of here and let him see some pitches. So if and when he comes back in September, and I would think he probably would, they can add 2 guys in September. I would think he'd be one of them. Go down there, sharpen up your eye, your timing. Maybe you can have some good at-bats for this team in September off the bench. I don't know how much he's going to improve defensively in the short stint at AAA. Maybe his confidence can improve, because I think that is a big factor in his struggles defensively. I still think the guy's going to hit. I really do. I mean, there's still a lot of things I like about him offensively. I think he's got a really good idea of the strike zone. I think he's selective for the most part. He's developed some chase, a little bit of chase habits, but I think that's because guys struggle. They try to do more. His swing has gotten a little bit long. The front foot doesn't get down on time. He gets beaten on fastballs. He's very prone to inside outing the ball, but I still think there's a hitter in there. And once he kind of learns to use the bat head a little bit more on mistakes instead of inside out and everything, I think maybe we'll see some more power. I think he needs to shorten the swing, and that can be done. I think he needs to work on his timing and getting that front foot down, and that can be done. I think there's a college and a minor league track record of offensive performance that I still think he's going to project it as a big league hitter. And I still think there's a chance the power will develop as he learns to use the bat head. Watch the way when Andrew McCutchen is going good. Watch the way he punishes mistakes over the plate with his bat head. Watch the way he uses his bat head as a weapon. Alec Bohm does not yet use his bat head as a weapon. I do think that can come. I do think it comes with a lot of hitters. It came with Jim Thome. And I'm not comparing. I'm just using this as an example. If you talk to Charlie Manuel about when Jim Thome was in the minor leagues, he was kind of a handsy hitter. He used to kind of hit backhand lobs the other way. And you can even find YouTube video when Jim Thome first came up to the majors. He was slender, and he'd kind of fillet the ball to left field. Then all of a sudden he learned to really use his bat head, really learned to get that bat out in front of the plate. And that's that, and get that natural loft, not some manufactured launch angle loft. Catch it out in front and use the bat as a weapon. I still think there's a chance that can happen for Alec Bohm. He got to the major leagues very quickly. He is by far not even close to a finished product. I think he was coveted at the trade deadline. That tells you other teams do like him. I think the Phillies like him. And I think it was a good move, a good remedial step to get him off to the minor leagues, both short-term, maybe helps in September with some good at-bats, and long-term down the road. But it raises a much larger question about this team and how the front office is going to conduct its business in the offseason. They are a horrible defensive team. They need to really go to work on this defense. Dave Dombrowski, Sam Fold, et al. They need to go to work on that defense, whether it means Bohm becomes your first baseman, somebody else becomes, Gregorius, Bryson Stott.
Can I hold you right there?
Yeah.
What makes anybody think that Bohm would be a better defensive first baseman than Rhys Hoskins? Like, I guess the premise is that the DH might be coming to the National League. If it does, why would you have Bohm at first base rather than Hoskins?
Well, the premise is, we think the DH is coming, and that would allow you some flexibility to put Rhys at DH. I just think third base is a more complex position, and first base is a crucial position. Infielders, it's like when the quarterback buys all the offensive linemen Rolexes at the end of the year, infielders should do the same thing for a great slick fielding first baseman who saves them all the time. It's a crucial position. I think there's less to it though, because of the throw. There's less throwing involved. There is throwing involved, but less throwing around. And there's more to just actually getting the ball in the air and having it come off your fingertips. There's a thing called footwork, squaring the shoulders. And I think that all plays on a defender's mind when he's having struggles on the left side of the infield. I think, okay, get my feet right, get my shoulders right, square up my body. Now get my release points, and I'll make a good throw. I just think there's more to it at third base, and there might be and there's less to it at first base. And I am not diminishing the importance of that position at all. It is a vital, vital position, and a good defensive first baseman is a beautiful thing to watch, and it can really help a ball club and an infield. And I'm not suggesting he's going to be a good defensive first baseman. I think he might be a better defensive first baseman than he can be a third baseman. Big picture, though, I can't emphasize enough. They need to look at this team's defense on the left side of the infield with Gregorius, with Bohm. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if Bryson starts your third baseman. You got Gregorius for another year. I would imagine they would look to move him this offseason. I don't know if there'll be much market at that price. Maybe he could go to third. And then, who plays shortstop? I don't know. So I'm just telling you, they need to improve that defense. They need to improve that defense, or it's going to break their heart again next year.
Well, at the very least, you would think there's going to be a new left fielder and a new center fielder, right? Because McCutchen and Odubel Herrera have contracts that expire at the end of the season. And, improving defensively in left field, that would upgrade this team as well, because McCutchen hasn't been as good post-ACL as he was pre-ACL surgery in the corner outfield. Didi at third base, I guess that could be an option. Could it also be an option to move Segura from second base to third base if Didi's more able to play second?
Absolutely. I think you have to get creative. You have to get creative. You could move Segura anywhere. He didn't have a great year a couple of years ago at shortstop, but he can play anywhere in the infield if he puts his mind to it. The range at shortstop could be a problem because I think he's gotten a little heavier than he was in the past, but he's a very good defensive player when he wants to be. He's had a great year at second base. Yeah, he could go over to third. There's been talk about putting Bohm in left field. I don't know. I would certainly look at it. I think you got to get creative. I don't know if he can do it, though. I don't know if he can do it. There's a lot of different ways to approach this thing, but Alec Bohm is very important for where he is. He's a large payroll team, young, under control, inexpensive. They need him to produce. You need players like that to be able to produce, so you can support big paychecks at the top of your payroll. So he's and plus he was the third pick in the country. If you don't hit on the third pick in the country, it's devastating to a team. They didn't hit on Mickey Moniak, and that's going to hurt them for a long time.
I mean, look at the development path that some of their top prospects have taken this year, between Bohm, who was the third pick, Moniak, who was the first pick, Adam Hazley, who left the team in April and is, still hasn't made his way back, Spencer Howard, who had bottomed out to the point that the Phillies traded him for, a closer for 2 months and a starting pitcher for 1.5 years. It hasn't been a good year in terms of the Phillies developing some of the guys closer to the majors who are big pieces theoretically.
And that's a big reason your farm system gets very, very low rankings, is that they have not hit on their top picks. It's very injurious to an organization. And you just mentioned all the names that they have not hit on, and it even extends, beyond that. Cornelius Randolph, even beyond that. So you got to hit on your top picks. You got to hit on your top picks if you want to bring your own guys to the major leagues and have impact players. Hopefully, the last 3 picks, Stott, Abel, and
Painter,
Andrew Painter. Certainly a lot of ingredients to like. Stott's had a good year at Double A. I guess he's at Double A now. He's had a good year. A lot of people like his bat. A lot of questions about whether he can survive long term at shortstop or is a shortstop. But like we talk about all the time, if you hit, they'll find a place for you. So we'll see. I don't know if he I don't know if he gets here in September. I would probably doubt it because of the 40-man situation. But he's got a pretty good. You never know. He's got a pretty good bat, though.
Jim, the Phillies have Ranger Suarez back on the hill Tuesday night for the series opener against Tampa Bay. His last time out, it was the biggest struggle that he has had in 2021. Allowed a lot of hits, didn't make it through in Arizona. I think he lasted 3 2/3 or 4 2/3. It was a short outing for him. What did you see that was different for Suarez that night?
He got hit. He didn't command it like he had been. Made some mistakes. But the stuff looked good. It was 95, I think. But you're not going to pitch great every night. There's going to be some adjustments. Nobody said he was going to be Justin Verlander, but I still think he's in the right spot in the rotation. I still think he can help him. But it wasn't crisp location wise. I think that was. He's still a guy who really. I think his bread and butter is putting a fastball where he wants to put it, putting it in a spot that's going to produce weak contact, low projected batting average, whatever you want to call it, putting it in a good spot, keeping it off barrels. And that's what he needs to do tonight against the Rays.
Yeah, he gave up 3 runs in 4 2/3 innings to the D-backs last week. The other guy who filled out the rotation when Suarez joined was Kyle Gibson, who's been really good since the trade. He's pitched 5 games, 4 of them have been starts. He struggled to 1 game when he came into the 3rd inning of a rain-delayed game against the Dodgers. A lot of pitchers struggle against the Dodgers. But in the other 4, he's done his job. He's kept the Phillies in the game, going at least 6 innings and allowing 1, 2, or 3 runs. And on Sunday, it was 8 innings, 1 run with 13 outs on the ground against the San Diego Padres. That trade's worked out so far for the Phillies. I know Ian Kennedy also had some early stumbles, but he's also now had 5 consecutive scoreless appearances. He hasn't blown a save since coming over.
Ian Kennedy impresses me with the way he maintains his poise. He throws his fastball. He's not afraid of this to challenge guys. Throws his fastball and keeps his poise when all hell's breaking loose, and then shakes people's hands. And Gibson, like you mentioned, has been a really nice pickup. Reminiscent of the Joe Blanton pickup in a different era. The team was in a different win cycle then. But similarity is they needed some back end of the rotation help, and both guys are really just give you a really professional, competent effort. And sometimes it's not the marquee pickup that really helps you at the trade deadline. Sometimes it's the marginal pickup, the guy around the edges. And I would think Kyle Gibson sort of fits that description a little bit. He's done a great job keeping the ball on the ground, and you got to play good defense behind him. And and I like that they got him next year. That's really big because you got a semblance of a rotation next year. And so he's done a good job. Wheeler, you still got Wheeler. Nola's coming off a really good one. You got to get Eflin back. He had that rehab outing over the weekend. I think we'll find out a little bit more today before the game what the plan is for him in terms of another rehab outing or a simulated game or just bring him back. But he appeared to be healthy at Reading the other day, so he's going to be big. We talk about everything needs to click, and health needs to click too.
You know why Ian Kennedy's probably so able to maintain his coolness under pressure? He has 6 little kids running around at home, so that probably sets you up for some high-stress 9th innings.
6 little kids. Jeez. That's a lot of kids, man. That's a lot of wow.
Yeah, Kyle Gibson talked after the trade deadline about how that was one of the ways that he and Ian Kennedy first bonded. The fact that they have a lot of little ones running around, and so far they've been pretty good Phillies. As Spencer Howard's off to kind of a rough start with the Texas Rangers. So the week ahead for the Phils, 2 with the Rays, then 4 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. We talk all the time about the Phillies' easy schedule. Doesn't really matter because they still have to clean up. And after the Diamondbacks, it comes some division games, which the Phillies have not had in a while. They head to DC and Miami for more games more games that they're going to need to win. The Rays are really good. They're getting Nelson Cruz back tonight. He's going to play. It looks like he's going to play first base, which will be interesting. Perhaps the Phillies have a chance to take advantage of the other team's defensive miscues for once. So that'll do it for the Phillies Talk podcast. He's Jim Salisbury. I'm Corey Seidman. Thanks for listening.